Have you ever felt like things in your life are just not working out, not going as planned, and you're stuck in this mode of trying to force, trying to control, trying to micromanage every little detail of your work, your career, your relationships, your lifestyle in general, your finances, and yet no matter how hard you try, it's just not working. If you have found yourself in this place, then this episode is going to be so helpful for you because I'm going to be diving into the art of surrender, which is a process I've really been trying so hard to commit myself to over the last year and a half now. And every time I do it and every time I allow myself to lean back, surrender, and trust, absolute miracles come through. And I'm so excited to share some of them with you because I think part of our society, part of our programming is that we think we have to make it happen. We have to make it or prove ourselves or force in order to get where we want to go. And what I found is the opposite is actually true. And the more we step back and stop resisting, stop trying to create based on our ego and what we think is best, right? What we're determining what we think the best path is. And when we let go of that and we let God, source, universe, that higher power that is always here, always supporting and always wanting the best for us, when we get out of our own way, miracles can really come through, and so much transformation, abundance, growth, love, impact, all the things that are meant for you finally have this clear channel to come in. So I'm really excited. If you can't tell already, I'm really excited. So let's get started. Let's dive in and welcome back. Welcome back to Release to Thrive. I'm Kara Michelle, and I'm a holistic mindset coach and a quantum healer who is passionate about mindset, spirituality, and tapping into our truth as limitless beings. Instead of just trying to survive and get by, it's time to thrive. It's time to rise up, to know your worth, to feel empowered and in control of yourself and your life, and to show up at your highest. When we step into this place and come back into true alignment, we can change the world for the better. So welcome to my karmic crew, my fam of heart-centered humans who are ready to release their limitations, lead with love, and start thriving in their careers, relationships, money, and lifestyle in general. I'm here to guide and share all the vulnerable stories and the transformative tools that I've learned over the last decade of making personal development my day job to help you find freedom and start living your truth too. So with that said, let's dive in. Today's episode is all about surrendering and letting go of control. So if you are here, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'm so excited to share these tools and these personal stories with you. Everything that has happened for me in the last year or the last 16 or 18 months, I'm really bad at math, so don't make me count it, but in the last year and a half or so, everything that has happened has been so profound, and that doesn't mean that it hasn't come with its downs. And there were a lot of moments where I felt really caught in the struggle, really unclear of what was going to happen next. Moments where I felt like an absolute failure, everything I'd been working towards was a waste of time, I didn't matter, I wasn't enough. There were a lot of insecurities, a lot of heavy moments. I can feel my body's I'm getting those shivers and those goosebumps because there was a lot of struggle amidst this as well. But it was this process of unfolding and releasing in order to allow whatever's meant to be to come through. And so I think that's where I want to start this right now, is the fact that our minds do a really good job of telling us that they know what's best. So how many of you have this path or this idea where you're this is what I'm here to do, this is how it's supposed to happen, or this is who I'm supposed to be with, or this is what I'm supposed to create in my business or my life, right? We have this mental image or this idea that we've clung to, and it could very well be the truth, but our ego creates a very limited perception around how we're actually going to get there. So if I think about my own business, which I started about 3 years ago now, I still know in my heart and soul what I'm here to do. And I'm not going to share all those big dreams because I like to keep them private. I like to guard my dreams and keep them for myself, which maybe isn't the best, but I think it's a good protective mechanism so that other people's limitations can't then make me doubt myself. So I'm going to keep those things quiet, but I know certain things that I truly believe in every core of my being that I'm here to do on the planet. And yet my ego thinks that there's like one way to get there, or maybe multiple ways, but it's still very limited. In the grand scheme of things, there are unlimited ways that I can get to where I'm meant to be. In the quantum field, right, which I talk about, there are unlimited possibilities and everything is just energy. So whatever we're aligned with is what we're going to manifest or attract. And so we can align with one path, and if we believe that, more often than not, that will be the path of least resistance that's going to lead us there. But if we believe it can only be a certain way, or it can only come with struggle or with force or with overworking or with, desperation or whatever it is, we're going to continue to create more of those struggles. And so when I look at my own experience the last year and a half and the last 3 years, even in my business, I was so like narrow-minded in how I thought I could get to where it is I wanted to be. So my ego had this idea, it had this story, and it had a lot of limiting beliefs. Beliefs like business has to be extremely hard. Beliefs like, I've seen my dad basically like sacrifice his family, his health, his mental health, all these different things to build a business, to be successful. And so I internalized this belief subconsciously that that's what I need to do too, because that's what I saw growing up. And so that was a limitation, right? Of like, I've got to work all these hours, 12-hour days. I'm trying to prove something to myself and to everyone around me. I'm glorifying the struggle and the hustle, and I'm hurting myself in the process. So the beginning of my business, I was not taking care of myself. I wasn't living a very healthy life. I was showing up every day and I was helping people, and I was, trying to pour and fill other people's cups and trying to get things going. But I wasn't taking care of myself or filling my cup after until I hit like major points of burnout. This was when I started to realize that the way things were going wasn't going to work, and it wasn't going to last very long, and it wasn't very fun. So it became like, what am I even doing if I'm not enjoying the process? But that's another story for another day, my friend. When it comes to, the ego, and the problem with the ego is that it's very loud. And until we have a really good handle on it, and honestly, even then, it's still going to show up. It's still going to try to tell us that this is what you have to do. And a lot of times it creates this fixation. So I personally am someone who gets very fixated. Just ask my mom. If I'm fixated on something, like, there's nothing that's going to get in the way of me getting there. Even if it starts to be like not the right thing, I'm still like, I need to have it, right? And that's another thing I'm working on, another thing for another day. But the ego itself will really try to cling to these things. And so more often than not, what I've seen in my own life and in the lives of my clients is that our ego's telling us like it has to happen this way, or things have to unfold in this order. And so we're like, really, you think of it like a tunnel. We're like really tunnel vision focused on this one way of something happening, when meanwhile, like, God, source, universe, and I'm going to use the word God very often on my channel, on my podcast. I'll probably preface all the time that this can be interpreted whatever way you want to. I'm not bringing in any kind of religion. I personally just see God as like the ultimate creator and an overflow of love. Like, literally, God is just love. So, in my opinion. Now, God is over here going like, hey, Kara, hey, like, step away from that tunnel for a second, because look at this beautiful bright green pasture, and look at this field of flowers and the blue sky and the birds. Look at the abundance. Look at all these things that are floating around and available to you right here. But you're so focused that you can't see any of it. And so for me, I spent so much time and energy and money like really hitting in that tunnel, like constantly hitting my head, trying to make things work the way my ego thought they were supposed to work. And I paid the price for it in so many ways. And so coming around to where I got to last year and what I'm currently writing a book about, what I help my clients with inside the Release to Thrive Mastermind, which doors are open right now for a few more spots. So I'm going to share a link down below if you're looking for personal coaching and you're wanting to break free from these limitations, really reprogram your mindset to work for you instead of against you, and you're ready to step into your future, your dream life with confidence and clarity and purpose and alignment, then make sure you check out that link down below and reach out to me to chat, because I would love to see if I can support you and help you inside the mastermind. So a little shameless plug very quickly. But this is something I help people do. And so when I started to make these shifts in my own life, I noticed how all of a sudden, like, a lot of the stress and a lot of the struggle started to decrease. And you can think of it as simple as that example I gave before of like, when you're in tunnel vision, you can only see one thing. When you're shining a flashlight in a dark room at a corner, all you can see is that corner. Like, that's it. That's all, right? That's all you're noticing. So you're only going to see the limitations of that corner. You're only going to see like whatever color it is, or what marks there are, or like, the fact that there's no possibilities because it's a corner. You're going to be very trapped and stuck. Now, if you can lean back and shine that flashlight elsewhere, and all of a sudden you see this full room and this beautiful wall and windows, and you see outside, you see all these possibilities that extend past your limited perception, you've literally opened up a whole new world from doing that. We can insert Aladdin. A whole new world. You've literally opened a whole new world from getting out of your ego and getting out of the limited mindset. And so the problem as well with our mind is that it's so limited based on its past perception. So as I shared, things that I saw growing up were still affecting me and my business at 27 or however old I was. And that was like what I kept seeing. And the insecurities from all these years were showing up, and the self-doubt from all those years, the way that my traumas had affected me and made me feel unworthy or guilty or feel shame or feel, like I don't deserve to have success, or I don't deserve things to come easy. All of those things were packaged. They're packaged inside here. And so they were coming alongside for the ride with the ego. And so not only am I really narrow focused on a certain thing, but I'm also coming at that with all this baggage, which I talked about on the last episode of our backpack. Like, I was carrying a very heavy backpack and then really looking narrow. So no wonder I kept having struggles. And so maybe you're in this position right now where you feel like you keep trying all these different things, and you keep trying to make it work, and you're just desperate. I got to this point where I was just crying all the time and praying, even though I didn't really know who or what I was praying to, but just desperately begging for support, begging for finances to come in, begging for, answers or clarity or more, understanding or more success in my business. And yet I was coming from all of these traumas and all of these things that hadn't yet been healed or released. So I didn't have a very stable foundation still at that time in terms of what I was projecting out into the world and what I believed was possible for myself. So you can imagine when you're still carrying a lot of those old struggles or limitations or beliefs, and you're still holding on to, this one way of doing things, it's going to just make it that much more difficult and that much more forceful because you're just desperately trying to make it happen in that one way. So I got to this point last year. Here comes the personal story. I got to the point last year where I had been trying for like 2 years to grow my business, and I just want to serve. I just want to help people. Like I only find fulfillment in helping people and feeling like I've actually made a difference. So I was so desperate to like help more people in my business that I was investing tens of thousands of dollars into marketing teams, into growing my own like team to help me man my business. I was trying to scale way faster than I was ready for because I was just like, let's do this, let's align with that future version of me and just start taking action and like make it happen, right? And I was forcing, and all of this action came from a very desperate energy. It wasn't coming from alignment. It wasn't coming from me being like very grounded and centered in my truth. It wasn't coming from me, being in a healthy mental, physical, emotional place, because I wasn't taking care of myself because I was so busy trying to control and so fearful and desperate about constantly watching the money going out, that then I invested more into like this thing and more into that thing and maxed out all these credit cards. I was at the point where I was living with a friend in Australia and I had no money to pay for my last month's rent. I went to get groceries and had insufficient funds. I never had that happen in that point before because, I usually had saved a ton, but I just started putting everything, all my personal money into my business as well. And yeah, I just hit this point where I was living off like rice and canned vegetables for a month. And at the last few weeks, I didn't have the money for groceries. So I was actually like walking around neighborhoods collecting mangoes off the ground, which, like, thank God there were mangoes. But still, it was kind of like this point where I was like, everything you're trying is not working. And this isn't really that fun. It makes for a great story now. And it was an experience, obviously. And I made it through. And I know that I'm still very blessed. So, perspective, right? I get that. This isn't like a thinking that this was the end of the world, but it felt like it at the time because I had poured so much and just felt like nothing was actually working out. So very soon after, my dad started saying like he wasn't feeling great and he was thinking maybe it was just a cold. This was before COVID broke out. There's the dog. This was before COVID happened, but I had this really weird intuitive feeling that it was actually something very serious. And I was just like, I don't want to be away. I feel like I need to be home right now. Plus, now stuff was starting to happen. Travel was starting to look weird. Are they going to cancel flights? What's going on? And I have no money. So what you gonna do? What you gonna do when you have no money? You go back home. So I flew back home, and thankfully I did, because then my dad found out like a week after I got home, I think he found out he needed emergency heart surgery. His heart was not functioning very well at all. It was at like 14%, which is extreme heart failure. And now hospitals are closing, so that was a big stress, plus the money stress and the feeling like a failure in my business and all these things going on that way. And not taking care of myself, really. So I was so burnt out, felt like I had nothing to show for it, and I was just exhausted and very drained. Not to mention like other things happening in my business that required me to like really step up and have some uncomfortable conversations, which as a Enneagram 9, I am the peacemaker. I do not like those kinds of things, but I felt kind of forced into it. So that was going on, just all these things. And I remember like at this point, I was crying pretty much every day, like extreme crying too, not just I still cry a lot because I'm highly emotional, so I cry if I'm happy, I cry if I'm sad, I cry if I'm laughing, it's natural for me. I let the emotions out, but this was like a deep cry, and a lot of trauma was resurfacing around being raped and around my brother, even just like missing him extra because like of everything going on, and so many stresses, right? So all of these pieces were kind of weighing down on me and showing up in a way that didn't feel good, it didn't feel comfortable. And at this point in time, I realized that I had like two options, right? I could continue forcing and trying to desperately crawl my way out of my situation from a very limited and desperate and negative mindset, because my reality was heavy at that time. So most of my actions were going to be coming from that heavy place. So I could have that as option one, or option two was to just like throw my hands up in the air and be like, you know what? Obviously, this is exactly where I'm meant to be right now, and my efforts are not working the way I'm hoping they will. So I'm just going to chill out and take a break. And I'm going to take care of myself for a little while. I'm going to focus on the only thing I can control, which is myself. And this is when the magic started to happen. And this is why I'm so passionate now of talking about surrender and talking about how if we can come to a place of accepting where we are, we decrease so much suffering. This was one of the basic trainings in mindfulness that I started learning after losing Derek, and it was so hard to grasp at that time, especially with something as heavy as grief, or any kind of heavy trauma. Like, you don't really want to accept that you're where you're meant to be, because there's this resistance and the ego's not happy, and like, no, I deserve better, or this isn't fair, right? All these stories come up, and we actually create so much more suffering for ourselves because we're not willing to just accept that we're exactly where we're meant to be, or accept that there's a lesson or a blessing in this pain that's going to help us down the road sometime. We might not be able to see it now, but if we can trust and believe that, the suffering starts to like float away, right? And so for me, because I was so focused on that situation, that place of being, I created even more suffering for myself by making choices from fear, as well as not being able to just accept that this is okay. So then I created guilt, I created blame and shame and anger, resentment towards myself, all very, very low vibrational emotions that I was projecting towards myself every day. So it was just like a double-edged sword. It was just not good in any way. Which is why, let me know in the comments if you can relate to this, if you've ever been in this place where you're forcing and trying so hard, and then maybe end up creating more suffering for yourself, or you end up then resenting or being angry with yourself because it's not working the way you want it to. Because that's normal, it's natural. I think probably every single one of us can relate in some way. So being able to step back as I started to prioritize myself and my healing for a little bit, and I was very blessed to be able to live at home at that time and not think about rent or food. So I acknowledge that. I'm grateful for that. But also in that process, because I started to realign and recalibrate and take care of myself and get into a better energetic situation, I was no longer operating from the energy of fear. And I was no longer making choices from a place of desperation or lack. I was able to see and elevate and shift into the energy of, oh, I am supported. I have enough. I might not have what I want, but I have enough. And I still have gifts. I still have abilities. I still have things that I can bring to the world in exchange for money. And so as I started to see things more clearly again and really be in this place of surrender and taking care of myself, and I'll share like the exact processes that I did at this time in a second, but when I did that, I manifested some incredible opportunities into my life. Like, I started just randomly, clients started reaching out more and more. I wasn't doing anything, right? The last thing I was prioritizing at this time was work or promoting my business. I was just managing my current clients, and pretty much that was it. But I had systems in place, I had email lists, I had different things going, I still had my Instagram. And somehow, without me actually making it or pushing it or forcing or trying to find clients, I was in this receptive, open energy of just like, hey, I'm here. I can help people. And people started to come to me. So I started making like thousands of dollars. I got an opportunity to be a coach within another program, which was also a major blessing and perfect timing that helped me to pay things off, right? Even faster than I would have just doing things myself. I manifested some incredible new friends into my life, and then this opportunity to move down to Venice Beach, where I just was living for the last 9 months, came up out of the blue. And that was something I could not have planned. I could not have made it happen if I tried. But I knew what I was meant for. So I came back to that alignment of like, I know that I'm here to do XYZ, and I know that I'm going to be supported in getting there. And I'm ready to release the way and the path in which I think I have to use to get there. And I'm open to the path that's meant for me, really. So instead of controlling and forcing it one way, I'm like, hey, you show me, God. You show me which way to go. You bring the path, I'll do the work, and like I'm here for it, and I'm ready, I'm excited, I'm grateful, but I'm open as well to whatever way this is supposed to show up. And so all of a sudden, yeah, this new friendship happened, and then she was like, hey, super random, but this house on Venice Beach, they've got an extra room. Would you be down? Like, do you want to move down here for the winter? And I was like, literally the second it was offered, I was like, yeah, I'm in. And at that time, I still didn't have a huge amount of savings, but I had this full trust now of how supported I was because of this big surrender experiment I went through. And so, like, literally the next day, I think I had booked my flight, and less than a week later, I was living in Venice and meeting some of the most incredible people. And the growth, the experiences, the inspiration, the opportunities that came for me from that chapter of my life were so profound. And all of that happened from me not doing anything, really. Like, literally just came from me chilling and taking care of myself and trusting and being open. So, I think our minds are going to tell us, you need to do, because that's what we've been taught and that's what we've seen in society. That's what we've seen from our parents. And that's part of how they keep us trapped in the matrix. Like, not our parents, but the people there, right? They try to keep us trapped in the rat race, never enjoying life, never taking care of ourselves, always searching for more, 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 always feeling like we have to do. And that's what keeps us trapped. Whereas if we break out of that and we believe in something bigger and we trust that we're going to be supported in getting where we're meant to be, then we open up all these channels and pathways for that stuff to start coming in. And I've seen it with clients before who have been struggling over money. And we work on this. We work on this alignment. We work on this trust and surrender together. And literally the next day, they'll message me and they'll be like, I just had a $1,000 check show up in the mail. Or, oh my gosh, you'll never believe it. Like, I just got this job offer. Or, guess what happened here, right? And these things that they could not have planned for now have open space in their field, and so these things can move in. And it's so remarkable, but it never fails. Like, honestly, anytime I find myself slipping back into control or fear, my practice now, it doesn't happen automatically, and it's still not easy necessarily, but my practice is to step back and go, okay, if I can just trust and surrender, then I open space, and now the divine download or the intuitive hit or the random email or, a friend suggesting something, all of these opportunities now have space because I'm an open conduit for them, and there's room for them to move through me. So the tools that I used at this time as I said, my business, my work was kind of on the back burner. I just trusted that I would have money coming in consistently still, even without trying to force. So that was a reprogramming process of my old beliefs where I felt I had to do and make. And the new belief was like, money comes in regardless. I'm always supported. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. So the right people always find me, no matter how often I'm showing up or posting. So that became a new reprogramming process to shift into as a belief. But what I was doing every single day is I was doing a daily breathwork practice, which is so profound and helps uncover and release a lot of stagnant energy, not only in our body, but also from our subconscious mind. We store so much trauma and so many heavy, dense emotions in our body and in our subconscious that breathwork helps to tap in and helps to clear those out. So, literally every day for at least 30 minutes, I was doing a breathwork practice and I was doing my quantum healing every single day, sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours a day of this deep, deep meditation where I was guiding myself through. I was looking at old traumas, I was looking at these beliefs and patterns. I was uncovering the parts of myself that had kept me feeling unworthy or feeling ashamed or feeling not good enough, and constantly releasing, clearing, and realigning, and then implanting in the new self and the new self image, the new consciousness of who I am and what I'm here to do and what I believe to be true. So every day, spending hours up here just navigating the depths of my mind. And it was so profound in helping me rebirth and shift into a new being, a new vessel, and a new energetic alignment. It totally changed my energetic signature from this work. I was also every day journaling about stuff, just like releasing what is going on up here. What can I clear out? Doesn't have to be anything specific, but just emptying space, clearing out the noise. I was doing movement, so either yoga, my daily dance parties, or walking my dog outside, getting out in nature every day. And the other thing I did was I did this like very deep manifestation process, and I believe I've talked about some of it on other manifestation videos, so definitely feel free to check that out on YouTube if you want more with that. But I was really deep into aligning with the future self and what my day looked like, what I was so grateful for. And I had written out on this paper, and I wrote it in June. I wrote it in the beginning of June because it was Gemini season. I remember that. And I wrote out, how I'm so grateful to be living right on the beach in this beautiful, beautiful house. And I'm surrounded by incredible friends and people who are doing inspirational work in the world and trying to make it better. My business is thriving. I'm constantly helping more and more women overcome their struggles and step into their power. I have the freedom to travel. I have really good foods. I have my healthy water, which at that time I had just gotten my Kangen machine. So, like, I had the best water. And I just was like super clear in this journal prompt of what I was calling in. And I wrote it all from the present tense of already having it. Like, I'm so happy and grateful that I already have XYZ. And I love that I get to wake up and do this each day, that I have time for yoga, meditation, breath work, that I have time for myself. And I recorded myself reading through this paper. And I had like multiple papers because I went really in depth on all the things I was calling in, and then like the steps of what would come after that. And like it's this very long process. So I had this 1 hour recording of this voice recording of me just super high vibe, excited and grateful, reading off this process. And I listened to that every single day pretty much. Whenever I was out walking the dog, I was listening to myself celebrating and thanking and being excited about the life that wasn't yet here, but I knew it was coming. And so what helps so much with that is I surrendered to the how. I didn't know how it was going to show up. I didn't know when it was going to show up, but I was in alignment and gratitude for it already, which, as we talk about in quantum healing and in the quantum field, is like the sooner you can just align with it and you're a vibrational match, the sooner it can come into your life. So I was already excited and grateful and being open and being like, yes, this is part of me. There is no separation. There's no illusions. This is already here. Because even if it's not here physically right now today, I know that it's here. I know that it's in my vortex. I know that it's in my field and that it's meant for me. So it's coming. So I can be excited about it. I can be really pumped and happy. And this is what I tell my clients of like, if you're calling in your soulmate, energetically, you already have them. Energetically, you're already connected. You're a match. You might not have met them in the physical yet, but that doesn't mean you're not connected. So the separation doesn't exist other than up here. So celebrate it and be in that energy and show up every day of like unconditional love and gratitude for this divine partner. And that's what helps draw them in. And same with the money. Energetically, you are a match to money. There's no difference. There's no separation. If you're in lack and fear and scarcity, or you're focused on the fact that there's not enough in your bank at the moment, well, now you're kind of closed off, so it can't come in. But if you're just open and grateful and you see abundance in all the different ways, and you're grateful for a bed, for water, for food, for all the main things that still are so like such big blessings, if you can be grateful for all of that already, and be in that energetic alignment, realize that there's no separation from you and millions of dollars, millions and millions, maybe even billions, unlimited funds are here in the field for you. And the only thing separating them is your current focus on the present moment. Because energetically, there is no separation. It's all connected. It's all one. It's all one, baby. So the more you can get into that energy, the better you're gonna feel. And with that said, I'm like, this podcast went all over the place in sharing this story, and I really hope that it helped you understand the power of surrender. I will likely do more on this in the future, but I'm gonna wrap this up here for today. And just know that the less limitation, the less focus you have around how things are going to unfold for you and trying to make it or force it to happen, the better you're going to feel and the easier it's going to show up. So the more you can like step back, take that bigger bird's eye view, shine your flashlight a little bit further, right? And see the whole picture, you're going to be open to just all the different ways that things can show up and start to shift your life in the trajectory you're meant to go. And the more you can accept that, like, where I am right now is actually exactly where I'm meant to be. So I don't need to fight it. I don't need to resist. I don't need to beat myself up or feel bad. If I can just trust that this is exactly the part of the journey I'm supposed to be on, then it's going to allow me to just really enjoy the ride and be open and, have a lot more fun moving forward to the next step. So truly hope this helps. If you have enjoyed this episode, this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up. Make sure you've subscribed and turned on the notifications. And if you would like to share this and help someone else, please feel free to share as well. I'm so grateful for you being here. So appreciative of your time. And I really, truly, deeply hope this serves you and will help you release to thrive and help you let go of some of the control or the potential struggles that you might be creating or stuck in right now, cycling through, perpetuating this suffering, by shifting into a place of surrender and trusting that you are supported. There is something so much bigger than you, that whether you believe in it, whether you call it God or universe or source, it doesn't matter. Whether you call it nothing, it doesn't matter. It's still there. It's still here to support you. So the more you can just open up and trust that and ask for the guidance, ask for the clarity, keep your eyes peeled for random little signs or synchronicities that help show you you are supported, you are on the path. And I promise you, things will continue to unfold exactly how they're meant to, but in a much easier way when you stop creating the resistance and when you stop focusing on the limitation. So surrender. It's the most beautiful thing we can do. And again, as I said, doors have opened for Release to Thrive. This is a 90-day program, high-end mastermind with me and some incredible women who are also going through this process together. And we do so much of this deep releasing work in this container, as well as realigning to your true self, your higher self, the version of you who has no trouble aligning and manifesting what you're meant for, who's confidently showing up, taking up space, knowing her worth, her voice, her value. And so if you're interested in learning more, definitely check out the link down below and then book a free discovery call. Jump on that call to talk with me or a member of my team, and we can chat with you and see if this is a good fit. And hopefully then I can start working with you and supporting you on our group calls and inside the mastermind there. So check that out. Again, thank you so much for being here. Sending so much love and light your way, and I hope you have an incredible day.